All right, good morning. Jim Benton here from Chorus. It's Friday, April 3rd. This is the Chorus Daily Briefing. And again, just the spirit of this is to unlock incredibly rich and insightful real-time voice of the market intelligence, just to help all of us out there make better decisions as we're navigating these times. Today, I'm joined by Brian Trotschgold from Ambition, co-founder and COO. Brian, great to have you here.
Yeah, morning, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Likewise, we were just chatting that you had my past sales teams running circles many years ago with some of the contests that you guys have run. Good to connect in person.
Yeah, likewise. I'm thrilled that you're with Chorus, a great partner of ours, and look forward to collaborating, helping people out with what's a really unprecedented time right now.
I appreciate that. Hey, Brian, so just before we jump in, how are you holding up, and just the folks around you? Are you out in Chattanooga? Is that right?
Yeah, our HQ is in Chattanooga. I'm actually, I'm embarrassed to say I'm in our office right now. We've kind of converted our office, this office, into a situation room, if you will. My two co-founders, our CTO, we've been coming in. We're staying a very safe distance apart right now.
Okay.
But, it's tough when you've got, we're dealing with the same thing that everyone is, which is unique in that, I've got two young kids at home. So many folks are trying to figure out how they can be productive and effective in those situations. So right now I'm hiding out in our office, as my wife is saying.
Gotcha. What I'm really hearing is you're breaking all rules that are possible right now.
But I'm doing it for our customers. If you're on the call, I'm doing it for you guys. I'm not doing it for myself, but I am breaking some rules for sure.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you risking your life to join us today. And look, what we're talking about today is one of the most interesting pieces of data I think we've shared since we kicked off the daily briefing. We're going to look deeply at the increase in leader participation, both on the buying side and on the selling side. And our research team has been going deep into our data to pull this out. So why don't we jump in? So the first key insight that we're sharing is that the sales leaders are joining more customer calls. And we've looked at this from a lot of different angles. And it's, to me personally, this is absolutely remarkable that we're seeing a 42% increase in executives and directors joining the sales calls that are going on, and a 53% increase just in last week from baseline alone. And we've looked at this year over year as well. These are significantly up from what we saw in terms of patterns last year as well. This is, to me, game changing. What's your read on this, Brian?
Well, I think it's two things. I think the increase year over year is special because, if you just threw it at me that there was an increase over the last few weeks, I'd have said it's the end of quarter push for a lot of people. You're going to have your VP of sales or whomever in. I think we're in a triage mode though. And I think we're seeing this at Ambition. We're seeing this with our partners and customers. Everyone is trying to triage the pipeline, the deals they had, the opportunities that they expected to close, March or April, maybe for their Q1. And they're trying to figure out what's the timing, where's the customer, how are they being impacted? And you're bringing in, you're leveling up that call. And so you're trying to bring in a VP of sales, a CRO, whomever, A, to make the customer feel great, but B, to figure out what's the next step and if there's a next step in the near term.
Are you personally finding that you're getting pulled into these as an executive? Are you joining more calls lately?
Well, I can say, firsthand, our VP of sales is on a lot more of these, advanced pipeline conversations, as well as our CSO, Jared Houghton. So, whether it's myself, I'm in a ton of our renewal conversations right now as we try to, map the best solution for customers who are, frankly, under stress, and they're dealing with unprecedented times as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think, I'm curious, when you're joining the conversations, your VPs are joining, do you find that the conversations are materially different when they're getting involved?
I think what's interesting is that because everyone is going through this, uniquely shared experience, it's not like this is one industry. It's not like it's affecting one geography. The relatability, the ability to ask real questions and get to, I think very in-depth, nuanced answer of how is this affecting your business? How can we help? What does our solution mean to your sales team today, tomorrow, this quarter? We're getting a lot more depth there. And I think that's allowing us to be a better partner to our customers or to our prospects. And I think that's a little bit unique in that it's not just this negotiation that we're having or like, hey, this is how you help me with some ROI case. it's like, hey, I need this because my team's going remote, or we're facing, layoffs or some type of challenge to our business. And I need this to coach, motivate, manage our people. And so I think that we're getting to be a deeper partner in some ways and really dig into the challenges faced our customers. I'm sure like Chorus is. And I think that's pretty special, actually.
Brian, we've talked on previous sessions about just the authenticity of sales right now. And I think one of the things that inspires me when I look at the data is that sales is playing a big role to bring two parties together right now, to really bring groups together to make sure that commerce is still flowing. When you think about the calls and authenticity, what are some of the insights you're seeing? Are people sharing more? Are they talking about their families? Even though we're having tough conversations about renewals and deals, any observations from you about just how tone has changed and how people are connecting?
Yeah, I think that is this thing that we're all going through. And it's just like the beginning of this call, we're laughing about me being in the office. But beforehand, your colleague and I are talking about that we were both in the home. We have 4-year-olds. It's hard to work with 4-year-olds. And I'm on calls with executives where we're trying to renegotiate or extend agreements. And, I got a 2-year-old in there smashing trucks together. And so it's very humanizing. I think that we have to bring a ton of empathy. And I also think that, we're giving everyone more leeway and more latitude to be real and to be open. And I think that's pretty awesome, regardless of what the business context is.
I would agree. Look, it's 8:35 when we kick this off. I would typically be in the office doing this. And instead today, I had the door open 10 minutes ago with my daughter. It's her birthday today. She turned 5, saying, I'm going to open a present. You're like, okay, let's take 5 minutes real quick and let's do this.
Yes.
There's special little moments that I know I would not be getting, even though I think we've been more productive. I don't know if you felt this way, more productive than ever in the last few weeks with the way Zoom has just engaged us.
Yeah, I think that, and I'm sure this may be, I want to be also, nuanced, and I think that our businesses are uniquely positioned to really support folks right now, support sales leaders and sales managers who are having to change the paradigm of how they're coaching and managing. And that's exciting for me, of course. But it's also, I see our whole team just taking it to a different speed. And it's both of like, how can we help convert, an enterprise customer with 3,000 sellers who are used to being inside sales and SDRs on a floor. And overnight, they're like, please help us figure out how to manage these people, 25, 30-year-olds in their home doing Zoom calls or doing, calls on outreach or sales loft, and like, how can we manage this? And so it is just a true enterprise transformation overnight that we are supporting for a ton of folks. And I think it's incredible what our team has been able to do in, turning on a dime to support these customer needs.
Look, I think that's right. Before I jump to the next stat, I think why I was kind of almost giddy to jump into today's data is that the assumption is that, look, we're all you have 4-year-olds and kids running around and it's chaos. Yet the sales community is working harder than we've ever seen it. We're seeing increases in productivity. And now that we're seeing that the leadership is actually showing significant increases in their own engagement and productivity, even if they're tough calls, this is what it's about. Sure. This is our moment. And I'm thrilled to see that. I wanted to jump into the next core stat here. So looking at the other side. So we just talked about the sales community bringing in more leadership. Now, as you look at the buying side, we're seeing that more leaders from the buying side are also participating in the conversations. So 23% increase the week of March 16th, and then from baseline, 37% increase just in the last week. I mean, that's a very significant increase in executives joining these buying calls. And once again, if we look at year-over-year data, this is a massive pop over what we saw last year. So you mentioned that there's a lot of more challenging conversations. Are you also seeing more executives on the other side joining into your calls? Are you hearing this from the customers you're working with?
Yes, and once again, I think there's a mixture of ones where you're saying we've got budget freeze or we have unfortunate furlough coming, but then there's a lot of folks who are saying our initiatives just changed. And I think that's the interesting thing that this data points to, which is, our initiative of the things that we thought 2020 was going to be about is not the case anymore. And we're having to pivot that And it's happening with a, senior level of leadership joining these calls, whether it is to say, we need more seats, or we need to change how we are coaching and managing people, just specifically to us. That's incredible. And we've seen these from, Ambition is a tool we sell to sales leaders, so VPs, CROs. We're seeing a lot more C-level initiative at large enterprise companies because they're saying how we manage salespeople, how we engage our salespeople is having to change fundamentally in a 2 weeks period. And anecdotally, I think that, what I can say is that folks are plugged in because just what you said, sales doesn't get to stop. Just because there's a pandemic, most of these sales teams, they're not saying, hey, go home, hang up the phone, catch up on, your shows. They're saying, like, keep selling, keep doing what we're supposed to do. And so it's become a very high level priority for executive teams.
Yeah, I love it. It's funny. I was listening to one of the sales calls that our team had yesterday. They're actually playing one of the BDR calls to a customer, but it was an example where if you use a past script, if you use language that was more kind of classic, we helped to increase quota, or close rates. We actually were getting customers coaching the team. And I appreciated this one individual. It just said, look, I'm happy to talk to you. I appreciate that you have drive to reach out and represent your company, but you got to connect. You got to give me a real reason why you're calling, not the old world reasons. And I just think that's what's kind of special right now is people really kind of going deep and finding the true purpose of why we're reaching out to people.
It's been pretty cool, Jim. I think that we're all trying to find that balance of, how much do we lean into the new world or how things are changing in the last couple of weeks versus our traditional message, as you said. And I think that there's got to be a much more empathetic approach on the call, especially for sales leaders who both of our companies serve, where we're saying, look, I know things are crazy for you right now. And I think that I can help you because of X, Y, and Z. And it may be very different than what I would have said 4 weeks ago, but like, here's what I think you're facing. We're trying to do more of this. And Mark McWaters, our VP of sales, doing a great job of posting this stuff live on LinkedIn, where he's talking about the challenges that he has. And we have a team of sales folks who are, we have a whole SDR team that's now fully remote. It's challenging. It's really challenging. They used to sit 30 feet away. Now they're out of the office. That is a big part of our culture. It's a big part of our rapid iteration. And it's just not happening to the same extent. So every leader is facing that. We have to put ourselves in their shoes and try to, adapt our messaging, like you said.
Gotcha. Well, look, I'm just thrilled that we're seeing authenticity really permeate back into sales. I think that there might be something here that changes sales going forward, because this is what we should all be doing. This is the profession, we signed up for. One of the other observations, look, there's a lot of challenge and pain and issues going on that we're not talking about in this call right now. We both recognize that. We're keeping this focused on kind of keeping the economic side going while we're healthy and thrilled that we have medical community doing all the great work they're doing. But one of the observations that I keep seeing is from people sharing these observations of things are coming together better. Teams are working better together. And in this case, I'm seeing a democratization of location that leaders can jump on. They can be anywhere and everywhere with a click of a button, which I just don't think happened before when they were walking the halls. And so, I don't know if you're seeing anything with your team, even with these BDRs remote, whether you're actually starting to see a lift in how connected you feel to them.
Well, I think I do think there's a whole new set of tools and in this case, a sales stack that supports that. And, I think you have to have some of the tools in place. I think it's a challenge if you're not using video, if you're not connecting eye to eye, at least, once or twice a week with your folks. I think it's challenging if you don't have open lines of communication, something like Slack or Microsoft Teams.
Yeah.
So I do think that, priority is going to readjust budget for some of these coaching and management tools. I think we're part of that conversation too, but, I do agree. Like, there's never been, a situation like this where overnight you said, I don't have to hire someone in my SDR in the Bay Area or Nashville or Chattanooga. I can hire whomever. I have a playbook. I can coach them. I can train them. And I think that's going to be, I think what we're doing is pulling the future forward. And we've had this conversation a lot. People were talking about maybe in 2 or 3 years we'll get to this. Maybe we'll be doing this in 2022. what's happening now, whether you like it or not. And that transformation just clicked overnight. And so everyone's rapidly trying to figure out what that means for their business and how they manage folks who are not going to come into an office for at least a few months.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting time. I'm going to jump into a quick poll just to engage the folks that are joining live and just to make it a fun Friday for all of us. So the quick poll today, which I'll launch right now, this should be live in front of folks, is as you think about, do you think buyers behave differently when executives are joining the meeting? So when you bring in your sales leadership, so 1, yes, they're easier to deal with. 2, yes, they ask for more larger concessions. Or 3, no, they act the same. So do you think buyers behave differently when you bring in your leadership to the meeting? Well, the data is coming in pretty clearly here, where I think we're at 100% on yes, they're easier to deal with. Wow. Let's see if anybody, I haven't seen this yet on a poll. We are very focused on, so the core answer here is we have essentially 100% of the folks saying that, do buyers behave differently? Yes, they're easier to deal with when you bring in your leadership team. Is that consistent, Brian?
That's fascinating. I was actually going to say, and maybe this is different from your time at, from a CEO at Apollo to co-founder or founder at Clearslide. Like my expectation was when the founder title shows up, there's a little bit more ask. Like the roadmap starts to come in on the ask and some of these other things. I don't know. Have you seen that?
I always find that calls are a lot of fun. Yeah, I think when execs join, there is a level of just, I think they can bring it down sometimes, assuming that it's not coming in with heat, but people are more personable. People are usually a bit more authentic and recognize the hard work we all do. So I find that the calls are always a little bit more fun, but when there's a couple asks, boy, they better get done. And those are answers that if you say yes, that carries the weight of your company. And you're on the spot to make a quick call or to follow up quickly, which I think is the magic of the leadership roles that we all have is, we got to solve problems and we got to choose wisely where to focus those resources.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, Brian, I'll leave it on this note, just for everybody that's joined today. We're big fans of helping to unlock this data for everyone out there. Our teams are being incredibly flexible at Chorus just to make sure people can get this data. So sign up. We will do whatever we can to get you into the product, leveraging our Zoom native integration as well. And Brian, with that, I just want to say thanks. Have a great weekend and appreciate you sharing the morning, your midday with us.
Yeah, likewise, Jim. Thanks for having me, and happy birthday to your daughter. Stay safe and healthy out there.
Appreciate that.
Good luck to you guys.
Awesome. Cheers.